So when you're buying a home, one of the things that lenders are going to look at is your down payment. Where are those down payment funds coming from? And we've talked about in videos in the past different resources for down payment or different sources, and those include cash on hand, gift funds from a family member, if you have a retirement account that you can pull from or borrow from. So what if you're a borrower that doesn't have any of those resources? There's something called down payment assistance. Down payment assistance programs can vary from state to state, as they're usually provided by a local, a state-run government agency. And obviously, we can't talk about every single state's down payment assistance programs. Today, we're going to talk about North Carolina's down payment assistance program specifically. And those are given or provided by an agency called the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. There are a couple of different down payment assistance options that the NCHFA provides. The most common one is called the Home Advantage Program, which is where they give you $8,000 in the form of a forgivable second lien on the property that can be used to cover your down payment and or closing costs. They also have another program that will actually give you up to 3% of the purchase price that can be used, again, towards the down payment and or closing costs as well. Both of those loan programs, both of those down payment assistance programs are given in the form of a forgivable second loan or second lien on the property that's being purchased. And if you have the home for long enough and continue to occupy it as your primary home, then those down payment assistance funds will eventually be forgiven. Typically, the time period in which they're forgiven is when you get to the 10th year of owning the home and occupying it as your primary residence. And also, there's different qualifications that have to be met. But at the 10th year, the amount that you received in down payment assistance starts to be forgiven 20% per year until you reach year 15. And then at that point in time, the down payment assistance funds, that forgivable second lien, is completely forgiven. So if you sell the home or cease to occupy it as your primary residence within the first 10 years, then there is a very good chance that you may have to pay back some or all of the funds that were received in the form of the down payment assistance funds. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at these different programs. That's called a recapture period, where they recapture the funds that were given to you if you don't meet the necessary qualifications. Typically, in North Carolina, the funds that are given to you in the form of that forgivable second lien for the down payment assistance are at 0% interest. So you're not paying any interest, as you have those funds, as you're utilizing those funds over time. And also, there is no required monthly payment that must be made on those funds. So great programs, especially if you're going to occupy the property and you're going to retain it for an extended period of time, because at that point you won't have to worry about the recapture period. Another thing about the down payment assistance funds that will determine, strongly whether or not you're able to qualify for the funds and utilize them is those programs typically have maximum income limits associated. The funds are ultimately available or meant to be available for low to moderate income households that don't have the ability to come up with funds for down payment. So the thought process behind having an income limit is that if you make over a certain amount of money, you're probably more likely to have accessibility to your own down payment funds. So, in talking to a lender, when you're speaking about the different down payment assistance funds that are available to you, make sure that you talk about your income, because if you exceed the maximum income limit allowed for that program, you will not be able to utilize those funds or that program moving forward. So also, lastly, there is a credit score requirement in North Carolina when using the funds for down payment assistance from the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. And typically that credit score requirement is going to be 640. The down payment assistance funds can be used with FHA, USDA, VA, and conventional financing. So basically, it's open to be utilized with multiple loan programs or loan types, if you will. So again, a great program. Just make sure that you're aware of all the guidelines. The last thing you want to do is get the down payment assistance program, find out that you weren't appropriately informed or educated up front. Down the road, you go to sell the property or you cease to occupy it as your primary, and you end up having to come out of pocket several $1,000s because you weren't aware of the guidelines. So we're always here to answer questions and to provide additional education on these specific programs. Feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we'll be happy to help. Have a good day.